Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello and welcome to Ask Margaret from What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood, answering your parenting dilemmas one question at a time. Today's question comes from our Facebook group and it says, I'm wondering if any other moms on here have been diagnosed with breast cancer. I was just diagnosed and I'm terrified. I have an upcoming doctor's appointment to get more information, but I'm looking for advice from someone who has been there on how to discuss with kids and work, etc. This post got a lot of great response on our Facebook group, and you can visit facebook.com/groups/whatfreshhellcast to see those responses. But I wanted to weigh in on this on an Ask Margaret because my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer twice during my childhood. And so I do have some firsthand experience of this. My mom recovered from both of her breast cancers, but it was something that we dealt with as a family. I was quite young the first time and a little bit older the second time. So my memory of the first time is a little bit hazy, but I definitely remember my parents sitting down with us and having a conversation that mom had cancer and this was the treatment she was going to be getting. And this was the predictions about outcome. And I think those conversations were really helpful. And I also wanted to share that my mom was part of an organization that I don't know if everyone knows about that is called Reach to Recovery. It's run through the American Cancer Society, and it pairs breast cancer survivors with patients who are newly diagnosed with breast cancer so that they can advise them, meet with them, and talk a little bit about prognosis and how they came through their cancer diagnosis. So that organization you can Google at Reach to Recovery, and I think it's been really valuable for people I know. The other thing about a cancer diagnosis in 2022 is that there are a tremendous amount of resources for children. And I think it's something that social workers at the hospital can help you with. I also think you can just find a ton of books. I was really moved because obviously my mom would have been diagnosed in the early 80s probably, and you didn't go to the library and get a book about this. It was up to my mom and dad to kind of figure out what to tell us. And it can be super challenging because we don't always know the outcome when we get a cancer diagnosis. I think you can start with a bunch of facts. Breast cancer is fairly common. 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. It is the most common cancer in women other than skin cancers. 63% of breast cancer cases are diagnosed at a localized stage, which means the cancer has not spread outside of the breast. And the 5-year survival rate for that diagnosis is 99%. So there's a lot of really good news around breast cancer. But realistically, there are also outcomes that are not as good with breast cancer. And so I think it's important to, in an age-appropriate way, try to invite your kids into this experience with you and also reassure them as much as possible, because as much as you may be feeling anxiety about your own diagnosis, which obviously you are, that can be multiplied for your kids. So I think it's really helpful to hit this face on. to get books out of the library, to talk about what is cancer? How does it grow? Why is it dangerous? How is it treated? And let your kids into as much age appropriate information as they can handle and you can handle giving them. And then I think also it's a great time to involve your spouse or your partner. I know for me, when things are anxious and I don't know how they come out, I sometimes have a hard time walking my kids through those things because they trigger a lot of my own anxiety. So this might be a good way to involve your spouse and say, listen, I want you to be my first line of defense for the kids' questions so that they can ask your partner or their dad or whoever it happens to be, and that your spouse can run point on those questions, because it is a lot when you're dealing with your own anxiety to take that on. And so have your spouse really dig in on age-appropriate facts and be ready to sit with the kids, open up the dialogue, and constantly be answering their questions. But I don't think you have to only take that on yourself while you're dealing with your own scary diagnosis. The other thing I would suggest is reach out to all of the caretakers for your kids. So that's your school's psychologist or social worker. That's the people who are teaching your kids in after school programs or activities they attend a lot, and say, listen, we're dealing with this diagnosis at home. We're very hopeful, but here's what's going on, and keep them updated, because these things will come out at school. It may be something that's worth reaching out to the parents of their friends about and saying, hey, my child may be talking to your child about a diagnosis that we're dealing with. If you have questions, please reach out. Again, great job for your spouse to do, because this is a lot for you to take on while you're already dealing with a lot yourself. And the biggest thing is, of course, to just wish you all the best with your healthcare journey. As I said, my mom was a 2-time breast cancer survivor and went on to live a very long and happy life after her diagnosis. And that is what we hope for you, for all of our listeners who are facing breast cancer. Please talk to your doctor about breast health and how you can best screen yourself for breast cancer. Get regular mammograms and be taking all the preventative steps you can to find and diagnose breast cancer early. And do come to our Facebook group if you need support, and do a search for breast cancer, and you will find this, where so many of our amazing listeners are reaching out to this questioner, offering support and insight from their own experiences. I hope that helps in a situation that certainly needs more help than I can give. And thanks so much for bringing that question to the group. If you have a question for myself or Amy, you can ask them at questions@whatfreshhellpodcast.com, or you can come to our Facebook group and ask them there, and you may hear your question answered on an upcoming episode. Thanks for listening.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.